The goat was crying. Not the normal bleating of a frightened animal. No. This one sounded like a child begging for help. Its tears rolled like beads of broken glass, its legs shaking as it struggled to move closer to a screaming woman on the ground.
Get back! Don't touch it! This is not ordinary!
The entire Lagos street scattered in fear. Women running, men shouting, children hiding behind doorposts. But the goat ignored them all. It stared at the woman with wide, human-like eyes. And then the scent in the air changed. A soft, sweet smell. The exact fragrance the woman had rubbed on her daughter's wrist that same morning. Her body froze. Her heart stopped. Because the goat, the crying goat, was wearing her daughter's scent. And when the animal took a slow, trembling step toward her, the woman screamed the name no one expected to hear. Rachel! That morning in Lagos mainland, everything felt normal. Children were sweeping their compounds. Mothers rushed to prepare breakfast. The air smelt of frying akara and early morning dust. Inside a small rented room at the back of a long face me, I face you building, Rachel stood in front of the cracked mirror, rubbing the tiny perfume her mother gave her on her wrists. She smiled at her reflection. She always loved smelling nice.
Don't finish it, oh. Mommy bought that scent for Sunday service.
It's just small now.
She turned to leave, but her sister stopped her. Wait! Rachel! Come back! Rachel turned, confused. Chiamaka reached for a small nylon bag and pushed it into her hand. Go and buy matches for mommy. She wants to. Nodded eagerly. Errands always made her feel important, like she was helping the whole world. As she stepped outside, her mother called from the backyard.
Don't go and play, oh. Just buy the matches and come straight home.
Yes, Mommy.
Rachel shouted, already skipping down the corridor.
Rachel, don't go and play, oh.
The building was waking up slowly. A neighbor washed clothes in a plastic bowl. Another fried puff-puff. A group of little children played 10-10 at the corner. Rachel waved at everyone, humming her favorite church song as she walked toward the main road. Nothing felt strange. Nothing warned her. Nothing whispered danger. It was just an errand. A simple errand. The kind a child runs 1,000 times without thinking. But that was the thing about evil. It never announces itself. It hides inside, waiting patiently for the one innocent person who will step too close. Rachel was that person, and the man she was about to meet was not who he appeared to be.
Welcome to African Tales by Ijele. Please like, share, subscribe. The sun had risen properly now, spreading a soft yellow glow across the street. Bikes zoomed past. Women carried basins on their heads. Hawkers shouted the day's prices. Rachel held her nylon bag tightly, skipping lightly as she approached the small kiosk by the junction where old Mama Shedrack sold matches, salt, and small provisions. She bought the matches, collected her change, and turned to go back home. That was when she saw him. He stood a few steps away from the gutter, slightly bent, one hand on his back as though in pain. His clothes were dull and dusty, like he had traveled a long distance. A faded cap covered most of his face, making it hard to see his eyes clearly. Rachel slowed down. The man looked weak, helpless, almost like someone who needed water. He stretched his hand toward her, a shaking hand, and pointed to a small black leather bag lying on the ground beside him. "My daughter." His voice cracked like dry wood. "Please, help me pick that bag. My back, I cannot bend." Rachel blinked. The bag looked ordinary.
"Okay, sir." But as she moved toward the bag, something unusual happened. A cold breeze brushed her skin, even though the weather was hot. The man's posture changed for a split second, as if he became taller, and his hand, the one pointing at the bag, stopped shaking. Rachel didn't notice these things. Children rarely notice the dangers adults see. She simply knelt down and stretched her small fingers toward the bag. The man looked around quickly. No one was watching. No one suspected. No one imagined what was about to happen. Rachel's fingertips touched the leather, and the moment her skin made contact with that bag, the ground beneath her felt like it shifted. A sharp, invisible force pushed into her chest. Her head spun, her legs trembled, her voice disappeared. Before she could scream, before she could even blink, everything around her turned white. And then everything went dark. The man smiled, a wicked, satisfied smile. He grabbed the brown bag quickly, muttered something under his breath, then looked at the trembling goat. "Follow me." He tied a rope around its neck and began dragging it away. The goat struggled. It cried. It tried to pull back. But its cry wasn't normal. Its cry sounded like a child calling for help. The man hissed and dragged harder. To anyone passing, it looked like an ordinary, stubborn goat. Nobody knew. Nobody guessed that the goat was Rachel, the same girl who left home less than 10 minutes ago. The man dragged the little brown goat quickly, pulling the rope tight as he walked away from the main road. Rachel, trapped inside the goat's body, struggled with all her strength. Her hooves scraped the dusty ground. Her chest rose and fell sharply. Her heart pounded like it wanted to burst. She cried again. Not meh, not a goat's bleat, but a sharp, frightened cry, the sound of a child calling for her mother. It should have made anyone stop. But this was Lagos. People were tired. People were busy. People were rushing. Nobody had time to observe a struggling goat. A woman selling vegetables passed them. She looked once and said, "Ah, this goat too stubborn." Then she walked away. A bikeman honked loudly, annoyed that the goat blocked his path. He didn't even look twice. Rachel cried again, louder this time. Her voice. The man reached the point where the road split into 3 narrow paths. A tall mango tree stood there, its leaves yellowing, its branches wide. Rachel stumbled and fell to her knees. The man pulled the rope again. "Get up!" But before he could drag her farther, a calm voice interrupted him. "Leave that goat." The man froze. Rachel looked up weakly. Sitting under the mango tree was an elderly man, Papa Ojo,
sharpening a knife slowly, peeling oranges one by one. He had been there the whole time, watching, observing. People in the area knew him as the quiet man who hardly spoke unless necessary. Some respected him, some avoided him. His eyes always seemed to see what others could not. He stood up, leaning on his walking stick, his eyes fixed on the goat, on Rachel. Then he looked at the stranger, and his voice dropped into something deep and unsettling. "No goat cries like that," he said, "and no goat sheds tears that heavy." The stranger swallowed, suddenly nervous. Papa Ojo took one slow step forward. "This is somebody's child. Tell me what you have done." The road grew silent. Even the wind. The goat was breathing fast. Its eyes were wide with fear. Its tears were real, too real. The crowd noticed. A pregnant woman gasped loudly, "See tears, oh, real tears!" Someone shouted, "No goat they cry like this. This man don't do something." The crowd grew louder. The stranger clenched his fists, searching desperately for a way out. Papa Ojo lifted his head slowly, his eyes sharp and unblinking. "Tell us," he said, "where did you get this goat?" The man stepped back. "Leave me, I don't know anything." But Rachel's cry cut through the noise, a terrified, trembling cry. Then to the man. One man said, "Oga, talk now. Before we beat truth comot your mouth." The stranger's lips trembled. I don't know any Rachel." But his eyes said otherwise. He was sweating. He was shaking. He was cornered. And the crowd could smell guilt. Papa Ojo stepped closer, his voice low and dangerous. "You picked something that was not yours today. Confess before the sun sets, or you will not leave this place in one piece." The man staggered backward. No, I have done nothing." He turned suddenly to run, but the crowd grabbed him at once. Hands held his shirt, his cap fell off, his shoes slipped off his feet. He struggled, shouting, kicking, but he was overpowered. Someone yelled, "Carry him to the community head. Let him explain himself properly." Rachel bleated weakly, the sound soft, trembling, like a child crying in a mother's arms. Papa Ojo bent, but didn't touch her, not yet. "It's okay, my child. I will send you home, I promise." And as the crowd dragged the stranger toward the community square, Rachel's mother was running toward that same junction, not knowing her entire world was about to collapse. A small brown goat lying weakly on the ground, shaking, crying. But what froze her heart was the smell. A soft, sweet scent. The perfume her daughter rubbed on her wrist that morning before leaving the house. Her entire body turned cold. No. The goat turned its head slowly. Its eyes met hers. Those eyes, those familiar, innocent, pleading eyes.
Jesus!" she screamed. Her voice tore through the entire street. People turned instantly. Mama Ruth fell to her knees. Her hands shook so violently she couldn't touch the goat at first. Tears rushed down her face. "Rachel! Rachel, my child! My baby! Oh God! Oh God! Somebody tell me this is not my gutter!" The goat cried, loud, painfully, desperately. The sound of a frightened child trapped in a strange body. They stopped dragging him and began pulling him back toward the mango tree. The man fought and kicked. "Leave me! I did nothing! I swear!" But the crowd pushed him forward. They threw him to the ground in front of Mama Ruth. Her eyes were red with pain and fury. She pointed at the crying goat. "If you don't open your mouth and talk, I will tear your skin with my hands today." The man kept shaking his head. "I don't know anything. It's just a goat." The goat cried at that moment, a sharp cry, full of pain. Mama Ruth screamed, "That is my child you are calling goat." The stranger trembled. Papa Ojo leaned close to him and spoke quietly. "Talk now, before this entire street forgets you are human." The man swallowed hard. His lips shook. His eyes darted left and right. He knew he couldn't escape. He knew he was surrounded. And slowly, very slowly, he opened his mouth. I didn't I didn't mean to. But before he could finish, a sharp, distant sound caught the air. A loud horn, a fast vehicle, brakes screeching, a scream. People turned sharply. Something else had just happened on the road. Something that would shake you even more. The loud horn shook everyone. People instinctively turned toward the main road. A bus had swerved violently. A bike fell. Children screamed. Dust filled the air. Then the crowd. Everyone turned to the trembling boy being helped by two men. Emeka, about 13 years old, looked terrified. His shirt was dusty, his elbow bleeding slightly, but his eyes were focused on one person. The stranger crouched on the ground. Emeka pointed at him, shaking. That man, I saw him." The crowd drew closer. "What did you see? Talk!" Emeka swallowed hard, tears gathering in his eyes. "I saw him bend down near that small girl, Rachel, when she tried to pick something for him. Mama Ruth rushed to him. 'You saw Rachel? My daughter? What happened?' Emeka wiped his face, shaking badly. 'Yes, Mama. She helped me pick his bag, but the moment she touched it..." He stopped, voice trembling. "She fell. She didn't stand up again. Instead... The boy's lips began to quiver. "Instead, goat comot there," he whispered. Women screamed. Men raised their hands to the sky. Some shouted, "Blood of Jesus!"
Some began crying uncontrollably. The stranger attempted to crawl backward, but 3 men grabbed him at once. "It's a lie! It's a lie! Leave me!" But Emeka stepped forward and pointed at him again. "Why did you run? Why did you tie the goat with rope? Why were you dragging it away?" The stranger shook his head violently. He kept repeating, "I did nothing. I did nothing." Papa Ojo raised his walking stick, and silence returned immediately. His voice was cold and steady. "You did something," he said. "You picked what you were not supposed to pick." Rachel cried again, weak, exhausted, shaking. As Mama Ruth bent to carry the goat, she inhaled the sweet scent once more, the same one she placed on her daughter that morning. She broke down completely. "My child, Rachel, Rachel, my baby!" People wiped their eyes. Even the strongest men looked away. Papa Ojo turned to the crowd. "We cannot stay here. Take the man to the community head's compound and bring the goat, bring the child. We must know what happened. We must know how to reverse this." A murmur ran through the people. Can it be reversed? Is there hope? God help us. The road to the community square was long, and for the first time ever, the entire street walked together. At the front, Mama Ruth held the goat tightly in her arms, crying silently. Behind her, the stranger was dragged roughly by men, his eyes wild with fear. And at the very back, Emeka walked slowly, rubbing his bruised elbow, replaying everything he saw in his mind. But nobody noticed something else. Nobody saw the shadowy figure standing in a narrow corner, watching the entire scene. A man with eyes too sharp, too cold. A man who whispered under his breath, "They have taken her. Good. Then she is no longer my problem." And he disappeared into the street before anyone spotted him.
The community square was already buzzing with noise before the crowd arrived. Women from nearby streets rushed out confused. Children climbed on low fences to see what was happening. Elders stepped outside the rooms, frowning at the commotion. But when they saw what the crowd was carrying, when they saw Mama Ruth clutching a crying goat like a baby, silence washed over the square like cold rain. The community head, Pa Daniel, an elderly man with white hair and a firm voice, came out slowly from his compound. "What is this noise? Who brought trouble during daylight?" Papa Olju stepped forward immediately. "Pa Daniel, this is not ordinary matter." He pointed at the trembling goat in Mama Ruth's arms. "That goat is a child. That goat is Rachel." "He is lying. I saw him. Rachel helped him pick something. Then everything changed." The crowd murmured. Pa Daniel's face hardened. "Bring him here." The men dragged the stranger to the center of the square. He fell to his knees, sweating, shaking, breathing fast. Papa Ojo stood behind him like a silent shadow. "Tell the truth," he warned, "because today your lies cannot save you." Still, the men refused to speak. So Pa Daniel signaled to the youths.
A hot slap landed across the man's cheek. Another and another. The crowd watched, some angry, some scared, some desperate for answers. The stranger cried out, "Stop! Stop! I will talk! Please!" Everyone leaned closer. Mama Ruth held the goat tighter. Rachel's soft cry echoed through the square. The stranger swallowed hard, tears and sweat mixing on his face.
The crowd erupted. Ew! Jesus! Ritualists! Blood of God! Papa Daniel raised his hand again. Quiet! Let him talk! The man continued, voice trembling. I only lure children. I pretend I need help. They pick the bag, and then... He paused, terrified to complete the sentence. "And then what?" Mama Ruth screamed. The man sobbed. "And then they change." A heavy silence fell. Papa Ojo's voice cut the air like a knife. "How do we bring her back?" Papa Ojo frowned deeply. "This is not ordinary crying," he said. "This child is reacting to something close by." The entire crowd stiffened. Eyes darted everywhere. Something or someone dangerous was near, and none of them had seen him yet. The crowd was still surrounding Mama Ruth and the trembling goat when a chill swept through the air. Quiet, but heavy. Children clung to their mothers. Men shifted uncomfortably. Even the birds on the nearby mango tree went silent. Papa Ojo looked around slowly, his eyes sharp. "Something is here with us," he said quietly. The crowd stiffened. "Something that does not want this child to return." A woman whispered, "Blood of Jesus." Another held her chest. Mama Ruth bent over Rachel, crying softly. "My child, my baby, please hold on." But the goat, Rachel, kept shaking violently. Her eyes darted around as if she could see what humans could not. Then, suddenly, she stared at one particular spot. A narrow alley behind Pa Daniel's compound. Dark, shaded, empty, or so it looked. Rachel's goat body trembled harder. Papa Ojo turned sharply. "He can see it," he said. "Children, even in another form, see what adults miss." The crowd looked toward the alley. At first, they saw nothing. Then, slowly, a figure stepped out. A thin man, tall, wearing a washed-out brown shirt. But what made people gasp wasn't his appearance. It was his eyes. Cold, empty, unbothered.
like someone who had done evil so many times that it no longer felt wrong. He folded his arms and smiled slightly. "So you caught one," he said softly.
God forbid. Never. Over our dead bodies. The collector smiled again. You think you can stop me? The process is complete. That child is ours now. Mama Ruth screamed, tore through the square. Lie! You cannot take my daughter! You cannot! She rushed forward like a lioness, shielding Rachel with her whole body. But the collector didn't flinch. He simply lifted his hand, and the goat Rachel screamed in sudden pain, collapsing in Mama Ruth's arms. "Stop it!" Papa Ojo shouted. He struck his walking stick on the ground so hard the sound echoed across the square. A strange wind blew. People staggered backward. The collector frowned, surprised. "You," he said slowly, "I remember you." Papa Ojo didn't blink. "You will not take this child, not while I stand here." The collector took a step forward. The crowd panicked. Men grabbed stones, women held sticks. People were ready to fight. But Papa Ojo lifted his hand and stopped them. "No one moves," he said. "This is not ordinary battle. Evil does not fear weapons. It fears truth." He faced the collector. "Tell us," Papa Ojo said, "how to return the child." The collector laughed lightly. "Return her? No, we don't return anyone once they are marked." Mama Ruth wailed bitterly. Even the goats in nearby compounds bleated in confusion. Pa Daniel stepped forward. "What does the mark mean?" he asked. The collector smiled coldly. "It means," he said slowly, "that by midnight, this goat..." The collector stretched out his hand again toward the trembling goat in Mama Ruth's arms. "Give her to me," he repeated calmly. "Midnight is close." But this time, something shifted in the air. A strange heaviness, a stillness, a silence that carried power. Papa Ojo lifted his walking stick slowly, not with fear, not with anger, but with quiet authority. "You have said enough," he said. The collector frowned. "Old man, don't try." Papa Ojo slammed the bottom of the stick on the earth. Boom! A shock wave spread through the square. The collector staggered backward, shocked. The goat, Rachel, suddenly stopped crying. Her body lifted slightly from Mama Ruth's arms, glowing faintly. Mama Ruth gasped. What is happening?" The collector screamed. "No! You cannot reverse kindness! It breaks the laws!" "That is why it works," Papa Ojo replied calmly. Another burst of golden light. Rachel's goat legs stretched, her eyes widened, her small body lifted higher, and suddenly,
Foom! The goat disappeared, standing in the exact same spot, shaking, crying, scared, but human again, was Rachel. Mama Ruth screamed and ran forward, grabbing her daughter so tightly both of them fell to their knees. "My baby! Rachel, my baby! Jesus! Thank you! Thank you!" Rachel sobbed into her mother's chest. "Mommy! Mommy! I was calling you! I was calling you!" The entire street exploded in shouts of joy. "She is back! God is good! Rachel, don't come back, oh!" The collector tried to run, but the crowd chased him instantly. Before he could escape, something invisible pushed him to the ground. He fell flat, unable to rise. Papa Ojo turned away from him.
"Take him," he said. "Let the authorities deal with him. His power is gone." The crowd grabbed the man and dragged him away. But all Mama Ruth cared about was her daughter. She held Rachel's face in her hands. "Did they hurt you? Did you cry? Are you fine?" Rachel nodded through tears. "Mommy, thank you for coming." Mama Ruth hugged her even tighter. Papa Ojo walked over and placed a hand on Rachel's head. "You survived because you have a good heart," he said softly. "Never stop helping, but always be careful." Rachel nodded quietly, still shaking. Mama Ruth looked up at the old man, tears on her cheeks. "God bless you, Papa Ojo. God bless you." But even kindness must open its eyes. Rachel helped a stranger with a pure heart, and her innocence almost cost her life. But in the end, light defeated darkness, and her mother's love pulled her back from the edge. Remember, help people, but don't close your eyes when helping. Evil hides in ordinary faces, but God still protects the innocent. Rachel returned safely because her heart was pure and because her mother refused to give up. But not every child is this lucky. Teach your children wisdom. Teach them caution. Teach them awareness, because the world is not what it looks like. Thank you for watching African Tales by Ijele, tales that open the eyes and soften the heart. Please subscribe, let's grow faster, and tell me where you are watching from.